Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Eagle Reality Career Talk podcast. Chris Ward, your host, broker in charge here in Eagle Realty in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Super excited to have you either watching. I live stream this on YouTube in case you didn't know, but if you're listening on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or Alexa, super excited that you're listening and very pumped to be able to bring some audio content to you from the real estate industry. I think the purpose, like I said, I say this a lot, is because I truly believe it, that the podcast that I do is really, it's a value add for realtors. I'm trying to bring some kind of value. I'm trying to bring some kind of tactical or macro level advice for your real estate career. But at the same time, really trying to give any kind of business advice, entrepreneurial advice to people out there that have careers or own businesses, because I think you can glean. I think there's a lot of similarities. I think there's a lot of parallels in business in general that I speak to, and I'm an investor in some different businesses, and I like and I dabble. I got some side hustles too, like everybody out there. But I really, my main thing for 16 years has been the real estate industry here in the Myrtle Beach area. So I just want to hopefully, share some experience and glean some value. And I would glean value. Leave comments. Let me know topics. Let me know you have questions. I have a ton of other content pieces that if you really connect with me, I'd love to connect with you. And I think I can glean a lot. I can learn a lot from a lot of you out there that have a lot of experience or have content that you're posting out there. I'd love it. So hit me up. Message me, DM me, social, YouTube, comments, whatever. Email me, text me. Don't fax me. I don't have a fax machine. Anyway, we've been in this series for we've done 3 episodes, so go back and listen. Started the year off with our pillar content series. So talking about pillar content. I'll explain that in a second. But we've had 3 episodes where we kind of gave an introduction, overview, talked about video, talked about blogging last week. Go back and listen to that. I was at Agent 2021 when I recorded that podcast. Talked about blogging, written content in general. And we're going to close it out. This is the last episode in this series. We'll start something new and either next week or the week after, maybe do a one-off next week and then start February with the new series. And really, when we're talking about pillar content and something I've been trying to get across with a lot of agents, had a lunch yesterday talking about this, taking long form or one big piece of content and breaking it down, using it as micro, getting the most out of it, using it throughout your week or throughout your month, and pulling so much content out of a macro piece of content. That's what I mean by pillar content. So in December, we dropped the content manifesto for real estate agents, created that piece, put it out there. It's like a 16-page document of just outlining basically what I do and say, hey, realtors, you can copy this. Like it's kind of a roadmap blueprint. If you don't know where to start, something you can build on top of as well, something you can add to. You can go to discovereaglerealty.com/content-manifesto and or dash. Is that a hyphen or a dash? I think it's both. But it's free. It's out there. You scroll through, copy, paste, do whatever you want. But I just wanted to put that piece out there. And it led to this series where I'm trying to break down content strategy. And like I said, talking about pillar content, large piece of content that you can break down. So we talked about video, talked about written, talked about different ways you can use that. This week, final episode talking about audio content. This is audio content, by the way. This is a podcast. This is probably your best bet, doing a podcast weekly for long form audio and taking that audio and breaking it down into snippets and using it on multiple platforms. And I'm going to talk about a couple different ways that I think you can use podcasting as a piece of pillar content that will give you other micro content throughout the week and throughout the month. So number 1, start a podcast. Like if you walk away with anything, if you're listening to a podcast and you are in business, you are a real estate, you are a business owner, your career, whatever your industry. I was talking to somebody yesterday, home inspections. Start a podcast or do a long form video that you can pull the audio and that becomes your podcast. If the context of the content is correct. So I do this kind of separately because like my vlog and some other video that I have is not long enough, and the vlog is more cinematic walkthrough. So it's like I can't really pull the audio for a podcast necessarily. I can pull the audio for other snippets. So I think that a long form podcast that has kind of some dedicated topics, or you're bringing on guests or talking to people in your town, in your neighborhood, whether you're interviewing somebody at a local restaurant or local hotspot or at an event, or you're bringing people from related industries on as guests or talking or connecting with people that way. I think a podcast has that ability to be your long form piece of content. And I think consistently, as we're having more channels, more audience, podcasting and audio is that really hot button right now in culture, 2019, in content culture. I think more people are starting podcasts now than have had them, even though podcasting's been around for a long time relatively to, I mean, I can remember dabbling in podcasting like 8, 9, 10 years ago, honestly, and looking at how audio and having your own radio show or radio station in the podcast world, and people that built huge audiences with that. What is big now that I think has changed culturally for podcasting is how passive audio has become to consume content. So video is still hot, I think, in our industry, in real estate industry. I think, yes, you got to do a lot of video. I think we're an industry that likes to show our face. We want, we want to be seen. There may be other industries that you don't really need to be seen. You don't need a visual representation of either the product or service that you offer or yourself as a brand. But in podcasting and in audio content in general, you can just consume so much from a passive nature, or driving in a car, not having to, like, you can multitask, you can be emailing and still consuming the content, still learning, still gleaning. So it's just the digital internet wave of radio. And there is such a open space to allow people to consume quality content, to consume value passively in the midst of their busy day, as time becomes more of the commodity for our culture and business culture and people. So I think it's a great way to start into that space. I think the advent and push of voice technology, Alexa, Google Home, Siri, Cortana, all of these different smart voice assistants being built into our everyday life, into refrigerators, into cars. You have to be in these spaces. You got to be found in these spaces. Now, it's still early. It is totally still early, but you can be the first to market. So when we talk about our company like soundupnow.com, where you can start a podcast and also get it on Alexa and get voice and audio content on Alexa, like that is something you need to be exploring. That is something you need to be doing. That is something you can't ignore. And see, Alexa's right there in the background. But you have to be in these spaces. You have to be able to create content that can be consumed from a voice and audio platform. So you have to have it. You got to do it. This is your pillar piece. Now, what do you do with it? So, like I said, the podcast, mine are usually around 8 to 10 minutes long. But there's a lot of podcasts out there, 20 to 30 minutes. And when I'm thinking of podcasting, I want to take this kind of piece that's 8+ minutes, and I want to micro it down. I created, my graphic design person helped me create kind of just a little like audio graphic that I can post 60 seconds spotlights on Instagram in my feed. So like an audio spotlight that's like in video visual form, but it's audio, taking small snippets, throwing it out on LinkedIn. You can transcribe your podcast and turn it into a blog. And then, of course, go back and listen to how you take a blog and micro that out. So many different ways that you can utilize microing down your podcast audio content. And I think as real estate agents, as professionals, as business people in general, we need to utilize this space, utilize this momentum of audio, utilize this way of consuming passive content for our audience base, and start building audiences on these platforms, on these smart devices, and be able to get valuable content and value in general, informational content out there to people on these platforms as they become more widely used. So don't be late. Start now. Be on the front end of gaining audience and gaining, I guess, a foothold in some of these spaces. If I can help you do that, please let me know. I'd love to help you more on creating audio content, or pulling audio content from different content sources that you're already creating, and show you how to repurpose and how to reuse it. This is the end of the Pillar Content series. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you go back and listen. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you're subscribing on Alexa, or if you're subscribing, Alexa, quiet. If you're subscribing on there, if you're on iTunes, if you're on Stitcher, wherever, I just want to thank you for listening. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, that's awesome too. Make sure you subscribe as well. And I hope you have an awesome week.